Plaintiff Pamela Query Wise says her son was friends with the defendant, and at first Pamela thought the defendant was a good guy. However, Pamela claims she soon discovered the defendant was lazy and unmotivated, and she's suing him today for shipping fees, an airline ticket, and a radio installation fee. Defendant Harold Dillon says he cannot believe Pamela is calling him lazy, considering he worked the same job for 3 years and got promoted to manager. Harold says Pamela is suing him for more than he owes, and he's countersuing for harassment.
Start with you.
Your Honor, I met Harold for the first time through my son Trevor. They worked together and they planned a spring break vacation to Florida, March 1st, 2014. My first impression of Harold was he was really a good kid. And I liked him. But it didn't take me long to figure out that he wasn't very motivated, he wasn't making very good choices, a little bit lazy, including making the choice of quitting a job that he had when he didn't have anything to fall back on, and yet complaining about having it rough. I know what it's like to have it rough.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did, but I had a backup plan. I work a third shift factory, making better money now.
How long did it take?
Just a couple weeks.
And you're working now?
Yes, I am.
All right, go ahead, because there's a big difference, and I just like to understand why people quit jobs and don't have another one lined up. And I was going to ask you about that, because I have a lot of people I know that do that, and then they come to me and hand me the bill. Yeah, I can't quit my job and without another one, so that's what I'm wondering if you do that. Go ahead, ma'am.
No, Your Honor, I do believe Harold's a good kid. I really do.
But it's just lazy, you believe.
No, I don't feel
You believe he's lazy and shiftless. That's essentially what you said.
I wouldn't say shiftless, no.
Shiftless means he doesn't want to do anything. That's what you said. That he lays back and doesn't want to do anything. That's the definition of shiftless.
Well, when he's not
You're lazy and shiftless?
No, I'm not, sir.
Okay, let me hear from you.
Well, first of all, I'm not lazy and unmotivated. I worked the same job for almost 3 years and was promoted within that job to manager. So if I was lazy and unmotivated, I wouldn't have had a promotion.
That's right.
Second of all, her son, Trevor, while he was working under me, he was probably the laziest worker we had.
So now that we're mentioning lazy, huh?
I mean, constantly on his cell phone. I had to ask him several times to do just one task. If you've been working for a company for almost 3 years, you should know what's expected of you, and you shouldn't have to ask.
How many promotions did he get?
He's still there.
You jumped in when I said that. I said, after 3 years, how many promotions has he gotten?
None.
None. And after 3 years, how many have you gotten?
I've had one promotion.
That's why you believe her son is more lazy than you.
Yes, sir.
Because you've worked 3 years and gotten a promotion. Her son's worked 3 years and hadn't gone anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Because he stays on the cell phone at work.
Exactly.
Ask him to tell his mom all that before she comes in here calling you lazy and shiftless. What else you want me to know about your friendship and your knowledge of the plaintiff?
My knowledge of the plaintiff, I've met her a couple times, and she was a nice lady. I mean, I stayed at her house a couple nights with her son, stuff like that. I mean, we were always for an adventure. I mean, we went cliff jumping, jet skiing. I mean, we've been friends since my sophomore year in high school. And I'm 21 now, so it's been a few years. I mean, we've got really close over the past few years. Despite him being lazy at work, we were still good friends. I mean, I'm your boss at work, but outside of work, we're friends, and it's all right.
Plaintiff Pamela Query Wise is suing her son's friend, who claims Pamela harassed him at work.
Go ahead, ma'am. Tell me why you're suing him.
Well, the reason that I'm suing is they did plan a trip to Florida. They were excited. Harold had never seen the ocean before, and this was March 1st. And they were going to have a good time, no doubt. They were staying at my aunt's house. Well, before they got down to Florida, they were in Tampa, and Harold was changing lanes and went underneath of another vehicle because traffic had stopped. He was
underneath
cited,
a truck or
under a car.
Okay, his bumper went under.
Yes. He was cited for reckless driving and failure to have insurance. So at that point, a lot more issues were caused because of being, there. What I had asked for was because of the expenses, and I'm not even asking for all the expenses, Your Honor. I'm not asking for anything that had to do with the car. Fortunately, we had gap insurance, so that covered a lot of them expenses. I'm not asking for the jet skis that Harold promised to pay me back to try and salvage some of the vacation that I covered, you know, so they could do something before they came back home. I'm not asking for my
What
son's
are you
airline
asking
ticket.
for, man?
I'm simply asking for Harold's airline
let's
ticket.
get to that. That's why we're here today.
Okay. I'm asking for Harold's airline ticket.
Airline tickets for
the
whom?
shipping fees.
Hold
Just his
on.
ticket.
Airline
which is
tickets for what and for what?
Just Harold to fly him home. That was $173.
Okay, you paid for it and he agreed to repay you?
Yes, sir.
All right.
For the shipping fees to get all their items home, it was because they took so many things. They were in a car when they went down. It was $233 to get the items back home. And then just for the installation to have my son's stereo reinstalled into the new car. And that was $711. So it's $1,117, Your Honor.
Okay. You have a copy? Sir?
Well, I do know that I owe her for the plane tickets and the shipping cost for our stuff to go back home. I know I did agree to that, but I do not feel that I have to pay $711 for her to get a stereo installed in a new car when it took me 5 minutes to take it out of the old one. I could have put that stereo in less than a half an hour.
Why
by
didn't
myself.
you?
I was never asked. I didn't know anything about that.
Ma'am, did you know he took it out?
Yes.
So why didn't you let him put it in?
Well, the charge is not just to put the stereo in. It's for because he has got the they didn't get no wiring because that was already left in the car. So it's for just the wiring, the mat, and the expense to reinstall it for all the materials.
That's the part. The expense to reinstall it. The labor is, I'm sure, the most. Let me see your repair sheet. Isn't that's typically what?
That's the
is
materials
the
that they had to repurchase to put the stereo back in the car.
Materials, $299. And, sir, what do you say to that? She says they needed the materials. Did you have that too?
No, I didn't take the wiring. I have no idea what she's talking about the mat for the stereo.
Well, the Mojo mat, front doors, and hatch. Now, those are the materials they list for the installation of the radio. I'm trying to make sure that that's all this is for, because what is that? Mojo mat, front door, and hatch. Yeah, what does that have to do with the radio, ma'am?
That had to do with the wiring that they had to run through from the that ran from the speaker to the front of the stereo, and they had to run it through the doors. So they had to put like a mat in between all that.
Okay.
So the stereo, there's no stereo, that was saved. But
All
that's
right.
just installation, the materials that was needed to reinstall it.
Okay. And your defense is that she should have had you install it because you took it out. And she didn't have an obligation to do that. She had a choice of doing that. She chose to get it done professionally.
Plaintiff Pamela Query Wise is suing her son's friend, who claims Pamela harassed him at work.
Your counterclaim for $500, how does she owe you for harassment?
I was getting harassing text messages and phone calls about a month after the accident. I was getting them while I was at work.
Okay, and the first time she asked, what did you say?
I told her that it was going to take me some time. I only make 8
Did you tell her how much time?
I didn't tell her how much time because, to be
Why?
honest, I didn't know how much time it was going to take.
Okay, and when she called the second time, what did she say?
She was telling me that she needed the money. She wanted to know when I was going to be able to pay her back.
What did you say then?
I told her it was going to take some
You
time.
you never gave her an estimate?
No, I didn't.
And
have
so
an
you think that her calling you, trying to get at least an estimate of when you're going to repay her, because every time you call, you say, I don't know when I'm going to pay you.
Well,
Pay you when I
understand that.
can. Stop calling here. Get it to you. I told you it's going to be a while. Don't call here no more.
I understand
You think that she owes you. Your claim is dismissed for harassment. Yours is granted, ma'am. Everything you said, 2 of which he agreed to. The third is certainly cause for repayment. You would not have to have removed or repaired or installed the stereo anyway had he not had the accident. Everything that you're suing for flowed from his negligence. Judgment for the plaintiff, your claim is dismissed.
Thank you.
If I get phone calls and I'm getting harassed at work and I'm getting in trouble from my boss, I don't see how that's my fault.
And I waited at least a month before I made the very first call, and there was only 4 text messages. He never one time offered. I just asked for $10 a pay period and just at least pay me back your airline ticket.
For answers to your legal questions and more, go to my website, askjudgemathis.com.